to give you some good news and some bad news. Let's start off with the good news. It seems like everybody here is in a good mood, so we might as well continue with that, right? So the good news is that despite what you might see in the media, what you might read in your sci-fi books, the robots will not overtake humanity. So we get a round of applause for that. The robots will not overtake humanity. So that's good. That's good. But don't get too excited because I'll give you some bad news. Right? Although robots are not going to overtake humanity, at least in our lifetime, singularity is not near enough. What is happening, and the bad news that I'm sharing with you, is that the internet is being overrun with humans acting like bots. Bots being short computer programs that mimic human behavior, short, simple communication. So let me explain. When you're online, you tend to have two major needs as a human. We can break these down into transactional and emotional. Transactional are simple ones. The need and the want to spread and receive information. But your emotional, think about your emotional needs online right now. We always talk about how the online and the offline world are becoming one and the same. They're synonymous. They're being in sync. What are your emotional needs online? Right? As a human, you still have those deep desires to connect, to feel trust, to have reciprocity. The same way that you want to connect right now as a community, that you connect with your loved ones and with your family, you want to connect online. But what I'm going to talk about today, and my idea worth sharing for the TEDx community, is that in our effort, in our pursuit to scale intimacy, we are losing something important. We are losing what makes us human. We are losing the actual intimacy when we are trying to scale that very intimacy. Let me give you some examples so you know what I'm talking about. I have them written down. You might see on TV where they have celebrities who read mean tweets. You ever see that? Celebrities reading mean tweets? Well, I'm not going to read mean tweets. Keep this positive. But what I will read are actual messages, right? Just really simple messages that I receive. These are ones that I receive as direct messages on Twitter. Okay? And we, as a community, and actually me as a user, I have to decide bot or not, human or not human. Here's the first one. Hey David, exclamation point. Look, they're excited, I'm glad. I'm excited too. We enjoy your tweets, another exclamation point. Wow, I must be really writing some good, concise tweets here. Oh, you might be interested in our ebook. The choice is, and we receive these all the time, right, as users online. The choice is, do I get so caught up in my own ego that I repress my critical thinking to actually think that they enjoy my tweets, right? The next one. Hey David, I've enjoyed your tweets on business. My God, thank you. I didn't realize I'm so great on Twitter. This is amazing. Oh, you might be interested in checking out our free book. I guess everybody's trying to sell a book online. Well, what do? Again, bot or not? Well, here's what I do. I write back. So when they told me, I enjoy your business tweets, I'm thinking, my God, I have a fan. This is really exciting. They're going to be thrilled. This is like you're a Beatles fan and Paul McCartney comes up to you. This would be amazing. So I write back. Simple. You like my tweets? Great. What tweets did you enjoy? Let's have a frame of reference. No response. Again, what we are trying to do is we are trying to hack intimacy. But in our pursuit to hack intimacy, we lose the very idea of what we are looking for online. Let's think about it. I have this apple right here. Apple's always very symbolic in our culture, of course. The way that we work as humans and what people are trying to do, unfortunately, online, is they are trying to hack our human nature that is reciprocal, right? We believe in reciprocity. We think of it like this. If somebody hands you an apple, you now are motivated to hand them back some apple. So if you receive something that's an apple, you assume that they took time out of their day, that they're giving some level of intimacy to you. So you give an apple back to them. Let me give you an example where this just came out. I was talking to a friend, Tony, and he said, well, this very thing just happened to him. He receives a long, lengthy message from an entertainer saying, I hope you can make my show. I hope you're well. Very lengthy, seemingly emotional. So Tony, receiving that apple, gives an apple back, right? He gives his time, he gives his energy, he gives his intimacy. What he soon found, by comparing notes with his other friend, is that that entertainer had merely just changed the first name. Why it seems simple, why it might not always seem clearly important, it is because as humans, we only have a certain amount of attention, a certain amount of time, a certain amount of intimacy to give. In 2014, the British anthropologist Robin Dunbar actually determined this in a book. How many friends does one person need? He determined that the average person can have about 150 actual relationships. And why? We obviously are connected with well over 150 people online. Right? I have over 1,000 people on my LinkedIn. But what he was getting at was that the very idea of human connection relies on a certain level of intimacy, of trust, of reciprocity. And again, we are trying to scale it to unfortunate and sometimes comical results. So where does this leave us? It actually changes our conception of how the internet is populated. We think of it in two ways, right? Think of the internet, or the internets, the interwebs. Think of it right now in social media. It's populated by two types of people. That's the way we think of it. It's populated by humans, us, right? I'm not a robot. Hopefully nobody else is Android in the room. We think of it as populated by humans and populated by bots pretending to be humans. That's why every time you're online, you have to fill out those very annoying captchas where they say, prove that you're human, prove that you are not a robot. Step back and take a minute. Let that come in, right? We have reached a point in our life where we have to prove our own humanity. Right? A lot of this derives, and actually even the acronym for CAPTCHA, the T stands for Turing. We might know Turing from his, recently they had the movie, The Imitation Game. What The Imitation Game is the idea of artificial intelligence, right? Generalizing it here. It's the concept that if a computer can fool us, can imitate being a human, then it has reached a certain point of intelligence. So the way we often frame social media and the internet at large is that the bots are getting smarter, right? Machine learning, AI, it's getting smarter. That bots are communicating at a higher level. But what we never talk about is that what about the humans that are communicating at a lower level? So is it that the bots are catching up to us? Or is it that we are in fact lowering our own humanness? So you might say, Well, why in the world would we act like bots? That doesn't make any sense, right? Shouldn't we act like humans online? Why do we repress our own ability to emote, our ability to connect? Here's why. As a social media user, there's actually a lot of pressure through metrics that sometimes bring out the worst or bring out the bot in us. Let's take LinkedIn. Last week, I added 9 new connections on LinkedIn, right? You would think that LinkedIn would say, I'm going to send you, I'll send you, Jam of the Month Club in the mail. Thank you, David, for adding to our database. But in fact, right on their homepage, it said, David, you are trending down. Your profile went down 12% this week. That's the way, unfortunately, that the current structure of social media is set up. What we oftentimes don't talk about in society and in the media is that when social media became popular, we set it up in a free entry system. So a lot of times people think of popular social media as free. But as the joke goes, if you're not paying for the product, you are the product. The monetization model of social media generally works by monetizing data. Their interest as a company is different than my human interest as a person. What I want to do online might not always please that very company. What we need to think about it is there are dramatic differences between communicating online and offline. Again, we think of them as the one and the same, but they're not. And here's why. When you're communicating on the street, it's human to human. When you're communicating online, it's human to algorithm to human. We should never forget that our communication is happening in a publicly traded company. The way I like to think about it is that social media oftentimes works like the play and the film. If anybody's seen this, Little Shop of Horrors. We've seen Little Shop of Horrors. All right, we've got some hands going up there. So what happened in Little Shop of Horrors? Right? You had to feed the plant. But you know what? That plant was never happy. And the plant would say, feed me, Seymour. Right? So think about that. I just gave to LinkedIn. And LinkedIn is not paying my salary. I gave to LinkedIn 9 new connections. I said, here, I'm going to give you connections. Exploit their data. Sell it. Right? They're, again, a publicly traded company. And they said to me, feed me, David. That's how it actually works. But again, I do not want everybody to be negative. I want to leave this on a good note. So, after I take a sip of this water, I'm going to give you a shoot. I'm going to give you an example of something that shocked me the other day. I actually got contacted by a real live human. So this is exciting. I also have that. Here it is. And this person, this is also through direct message on Twitter. She wanted to make it nice and easy for me to determine that she was real. She was Jenny from the block, right? She was authentic. She actually put real in front of her name, right? Because I don't want a fake David around here. I want the real. Give me the real deal. Give me the official. So she was the real person. Here's her message to me. Hey David, exclamation point. I guess everybody's excited when they send messages now, right? We must be drinking a lot of coffee when we type messages. Oh wait, in parentheses, personal message from me. And then in all caps, not automated. Can we please have a round of applause for humanity? This is a real human. Let's give it up. Humans online, right? So we have humans of New York, right? and humans popping up all over the world. This is great. But now we have humans online. This person is telling me this is not automated. Well, let me continue. I'm so very excited to share with you the story behind how I retired early at the age of 32. We recognize our own lack of intimacy, but because of the metrics, because of the anxiety, because of the desire to scale intimacy, it has caused us to be bot-like. I started off with some good and bad news, so why don't I leave you with some bad, but then good news. Here's the bad news. Humans are replaceable. Our transactional behavior, our behavior like that, our behavior to check in, our behavior to say happy birthday, our simple communication is replaceable. That is the bad news. Bots are more efficient than humans in simple communication. We are being replaced. We're being replaced quickly. But here is the good news. Humans will never be replaced with true, authentic, emotional behavior. But what needs to happen are two major factors. First, we need to change the structure of social media so it doesn't incentivize this poor behavior. Metrics are not for us. They're to get us to feed the plant more. That in itself drives poor communication, right? Think about it. In our effort to scale intimacy, all we're really doing is communicating at a poor level with a vast amount of people. This is not sustainable, and frankly, it's not something you want. You're not going on social media so you can be spammed by your friends and acquaintances. The last part that needs to happen is we, as users, need to be more human. Thank you.